Hello guys, and welcome to tutorial 1 section 2. So in section 1 we had created our floor, our ball, and we had attached the smooth follow script that we got from the utilities package, and we changed some of the stuff in here. We dragged our ball into the target variable, and we added some physics to our ball and some falls, right? So when the ball falls down and hits the floor, it will roll and the camera will keep on following the ball. So let's go ahead here and actually open up our script that we created. So go into your scripts folder and double click on playground, and playground should either open up in an IDE that you choose, or it should open up in Visual Studio. If you're using Unity 2018.1, you should get Visual Studio, but I've changed mine to Writer because I use a lot of IntelliJ products and I get them for free. So with that said, what I want to do first is let's copy this right here, and we want to section our code, right? So comment, you want to section variables and functions. This is really good when you want to modularize your code and keep things clean. So what we want to do is we want to create regions, and think of regions as ways for us to actually separate some of the variables or some of the properties in our programs. All right, so this is going to be a public region, and then you're going to have another region, and this is going to be a private region. For some reason I can't just hit private and without it kind of like reverting back and thinking that I want to use a private variable. And then what we want here to do is we want to keep our Unity's region. So right, so this is for the Unity routines. So it's a Unity routines, and then this is our own routine. So do region, and then this is going to be more like our utils region. So say utilities, or just utils routines. All right, so with that said, now we can go ahead here and just paste that Unity's region here. And what I want to do is I want to change this from start to awake, because awake is guaranteed to get called without having to be the object not having to be active. All right, so I'm gonna use awake here, and let me clear this out. All right, so in this tutorial what we're going to be doing is we're going to be just getting our public variables and yeah, and then some of the private variables. Okay, so what do we need to pretty much access our floor object? Because we want to change the object color, right, when the ball hits that. Also, we need a method that's part of the mono base class, which is going to be OnCollisionEnter, right? And what it does is it has another object that it checks against to see, right? So now that we have all this set up here, we have the skeleton. Now we need the variables. So in our public variables, what we need is we need a game object variable to access our floor. So game object, and I'm going to call this floor. All right. Next thing that we need is we need to create a color picker. So the color picker would be us to pick any color that we want to represent our floor color changer when the ball hits the floor. And then what we need to do is we need to find a way to adjust the alpha, because for some reason when we create a color picker, the alpha in the color picker drops down to 0 and it just keeps everything black. So what I want to do is we want to actually change that alpha by setting the alpha, the colors alpha to 1. So that's going to be equal to 255, do 1F. Okay, so now we have our public variables here, and we can just go ahead here and right click go to folding, and we could just collapse it and see that's really clean. And then what we need next is we need to get the camera transform, right? So the transform tool has the position, the rotation, and the scale for the camera. We're going to call this underscore camera. And then what we need is we need vector 3 to store the position of the camera. Call this underscore position. And then yeah, that should be it for now. All right, so we can go here and also collapse that. So folding, and let's collapse it. All right, so now let's go into our utils routines. So what we need to do is we need a function. So we want to modularize our code, so we need a function that can change the color, all right, of our platform, of our floor. So what we need to do is we need to create a method. I'm just going to keep this private and void for the return type, and it's going to be, I'm going to call it ChangeColor. And what it's going to do is take a game object. I'm going to call this G object for game object, and it's going to take a color. I'm going to call this color. So what I want to do first is we want to get the renderer on the game object. Alright, so we're going to create a local variable. I'm going to call this render, and that's going to equal to G object dot we're going to get component. Alright, and what we want to get is we want to get the renderer on that. Alright, so once we get the renderer, we can use the renderer material property to set a new color. Alright, so what we say is we say renderer dot material dot color equals to color. And let me show you guys what I just did here. If you go under your scene here and you click on the floor, you can see that the floor has a renderer component here, and underneath that renderer component there's a materials property here, and that materials property has a material set on it, right? And this material actually has a property, has a color property that you can change. Right now it's not accessible, but you can change it. So when we go to this material, which is somewhere in the scene, and if we clicked on it, right, it's not accessible now, but if we had clicked on it, we'll be able to change this color picker here. So what we want to do is we want to create our own color picker and be able to change the material that way. So let's go back into our script, and I'm going to show you guys how to do that later on in that tutorial, but that's not important for now. We just want to do is we want to change the color. So what we want to do next is we want to call this a function whenever the ball collides with the floor. So what we can do is that we can say that if other dot game object dot compare tag, right? So remember we tagged our floor to floor. Then what we want to do is we want to go ahead and change color, and what we need to do is we need to pass in our floor, and we will need to pass in the color, right? So here we are changing the color if the object the ball hit has the tag floor. All right, and what what we can do next is we can do something here on awake. So on awake, what I want to do first is we want to change the color alpha to equal to alpha. So we want to make the alpha to be set to 255, which is the max, right? And then what we want to do next is we want to get the camera transform, to initialize the camera transform. So we're going to do is say underscore camera equals camera, and we want to access the main camera in our scene, and then we want to get the transform of it. And then what we want to do next is we want to use we want to store the current camera position in a vector 3. So vector 3 will hold the position. All right. So what I want to do is going to say underscore position equal to camera underscore camera dot position. All right. Because we already have the transform. So remember that when we go to the camera, once we have this transform here, this entire thing is a transform, we can just access the position. Alright guys, this will be it for this tutorial, and on the next tutorial we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. I'll see you guys then. Bye bye.